Good evening. This is another Cafe Lockdown classic moment. So we had to go a bit early today. Obviously, Paul didn't get the memo, so he's not here. So I'm expecting him to come in any moment now and go, oh. And our guest, of course, couldn't get her speaker. She could hear us. We couldn't hear her. So what I'm going to do now, that it's 1 minute to go, I'm going to play the opening song, which is 3 or 4 minutes. Going to cross our fingers and then come back and hopefully we have a show. And then after that, Faith is coming in from Canada to talk about her detransitioning journey, and hopefully she makes it too. So g'day, New Joy. So let's go to the song. Oh, actually, this is Hope. How's that?
That's better. Yeah.
Right. Let's play the song. Let's go. We'll talk about who's house later. See you in a bit.
Worries.
Bye.
Chang bought a van and decked it out, showed us all, had all he needed. Could park it anywhere, free as a bird. But when he flew, he found out fast that the great outdoors is a barbed wire fence. I'm not staying here when the shit goes south, and the shit seems to be already here. I've a backpack with all my needs. Trouble is, when I dream, all I find is that the great outdoors is a barbed wire fence. I'm sure my grandfather left freedom here, unless my eyes were open when I was born. But this world has left me blind. Is that right? Mother, am I blind? I'm sure I smelled freedom once in the backwood forests of your eyes. Hide, you said, hide with me, or how else will we ever live free? There's an exodus heading out of town. Their faces are up, but their eyes are down. There's a sun that seems to be shining upside down, and around and around, upside is a barbed wire fence.
Okay, tonight we're at an earlier time because we have two shows tonight. We've got another one coming on later tonight with Faith from Canada, who's detransitioned or a detransitioner. But here we have, and I'm going to have help with this name because I don't want to F it up, Norafiah.
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 Norafiah, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Pretty good.
Oosterhouse, I think he will be on his way. I think he's used to going at 8 o'clock, so he'll
Yeah.
be a bit thing. So he'll come on. I love your
Sure,
top.
no problem. Oh, thank you. Yes, one of my favorite jumpers.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk your story. So you're a midwife. When did
I
you
wasn't.
become? Or you wear one?
I
When did
were
you
a
become
midwife,
one?
yeah.
When did you become one?
Um, I started actually quite late. So I was 40 when I started the midwifery training. It was something
Were
I
you
kind of
already
fell
a nurse
into.
before that?
No, no.
Wow!
So yeah, yeah. So the training I
Congratulations!
did,
Love it.
thank thank you. The training I did is called the direct entry pathway. So you don't
Okay,
have to be a nurse. And at the time that I studied, Curtin University here in Perth was the only university that had that course. So yeah,
okay.
you didn't have to have nursing or anything like that. And because I didn't have great marks from school, I did the adult entry, pathway in, and that interview. You have to do a portfolio and all sorts of things.
Cool.
And yeah, so I graduated or finished 2013
Can I
and
just
started.
ask, when
Yeah.
you were doing the portfolio and everything, because you obviously had a passion to do it, were you really nervous about whether they would
Well,
accept you or not?
well, I was quite surprised. Yes, I didn't. So this is the funny thing. I didn't have a passion to do midwifery.
Nothing is ever as it seems.
No, it was actually a seed that was planted by a girlfriend's mum when she came from massage. So
Yeah.
in my other life, I was actually doing finances for the University of Western Australia, and as a
Okay.
side thing, I was doing Huna massage, which is Hawaiian-based massage. And
Yep.
in my culture, we have traditional midwives, and they're called bidans. And apparently one of my great aunts used to be a bidan. So then when this woman came for, to give me, to get a massage off me, right in the middle of it, she just said, "Hey, you should be a bidan," And I was like, where the hell? Like, why? Like, no,
Do you have kids yourself?
no, I don't have
Oh, you don't
children.
have kids either. Wow.
I
Okay.
don't have
Cool.
kids either. So a very kind of rocky, dodgy, start
Yeah.
or entry into midwifery. And I actually remember I think it was one of the first days when in class where they went around to say, "Hey, so why do you want to be a midwife?" And everyone's saying, "Oh, they love babies and all of that sort of stuff." And I pretty much said, "I've got no idea, but I'm here. I love women. I love supporting women,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to see what happens."
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's hard.
So.
Isn't that the question of the day at the moment because of this new court hearing?
Mm.
This court ruling with that case of, men can be
Oh,
looking.
with Sal Grover, you
Yeah,
mean?
it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, disgusting. How is that even? How are we here? How the
Yeah,
hell are
well,
we
that's right.
here?
We're gonna talk about that tomorrow on the quiz show. It's gonna be one of the questions, what is a woman? Because to me, it's just ridiculous that we have to ask that question. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We thought we settled that in the caves, but here we are. So anyway, but you love women, you're going in like this. So let's get back to
Yes,
you. So what was
yes.
it like, the training? Is any part of the training you thought, oh, this is all right, or were you bored all the way through it?
No, it was horrendous.
Is there any-
It was horrendous, actually.
Why was that? Because you hadn't been in
Well,
school for so long.
no, apart from that, it was more that it wasn't what I expected to learn, and if
Okay.
anything, it was very medicalized for a start.
Yeah.
Most of your pracs were all in the hospital. I actually was traumatized a lot as a
Wow.
student. Yeah, and you'd think being mature age and all of that, like
Yeah.
yeah, I've kind of seen and done things whatever they were, but it was actually pretty horrific. And
What
because
was
I'm very good
horrific?
at well, it's what you witness women being subjected to.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
which is kind of driven, like what I do now. But
Yep.
basically, there was one woman. I was a first year student. they had put me into like one of the main tertiary hospitals here. And they kind of throw you, like just go and sit with this woman sort of thing, because you don't know anything. And so I sat and I was just chatting with this woman. So the woman had come in early labor. She came in via ambulance because she didn't have transport to get in otherwise. And she said with her previous history, she births her babies really quickly. And so when so I'm sitting there with her and I just said to her, hey, would you mind if I just put my hands on your belly so I can feel your contractions, right? So it's one of the things, so because in midwifery you actually use your hands a lot, and your senses.
Yeah.
And
I was at the birth of both my children, so I saw all this, we had
beautiful
things. So but
beautiful.
That's it. That's my whole experience.
That's well, but that's great. At least you were there. It's so important for the dads to be there.
One of the experiences of my life.
Yeah, it's profound actually, and I think that's why for those of us who love being in the space supporting women and the families and the dad, there's nothing like it, But anyway, I had hands on this woman, and we're chatting, and as she's chatting, and obviously the contractions are getting stronger, and I'm pretty clueless as a first year student, but all I noted was the contractions that I was feeling was getting stronger, and then she was having difficulty breathing. And at the time, she was also being monitored. They put the monitoring things on the tummy. And I had no idea, how to read that at the time because being a first year student, but I could hear it. And I could hear the heart rate, and it was like, going down and down like this. Nobody's in the room with us, by the way. Like she's just being monitored like outside in another room. And just as at the point where I'm like, shit, I think she's going to be having a baby. I better call someone. I went to press the bell. Next minute, it just seemed like 10 people came into the room, and there was all this Russian kerfuffle, to get her into the birth suite. And this woman, like in hindsight now, like I know she was just having her baby really quickly, but it was done the way they kind of supported and rushed her into the birth suite. It was done as if it was like an emergency. And then the traumatizing, right? And the traumatizing thing for me was because of a history, they had to do this procedure. So basically, because they weren't sure like how far along she was, but obviously she's in the thick of labor, they were worried about baby's heart rate and everything. So they did this procedure where they insert this little instrument into the woman's vagina. Can I say vagina? Yeah.
What did you just say?
Can I say that? Can I say
vagina?
Vagina, yep. And then they basically they go through, and obviously she's dilated.
Stop for a sec? I'm just going to introduce Paul Oosterhouse. This is Dr. Paul Oosterhouse. So he's been at the deliveries of who knows how many babies, half of Sydney, I think. And but he's this is why we've got you on together. A lot of babies. So I know what a vagina is, Paul. I've just learned. But this little sticky thing they put in, maybe you could help with what that's called.
But basically they needed to test the baby's blood to see if it had gotten acidic, and so they put this in through the woman's into the cervix, get onto the baby's head, and then they literally have to make a cut in the baby's head to collect the blood. So and then they take it away and then they test it. Yeah.
What's that for, Paul?
So they're looking for acidity, and it's a bit like a blood gas measurement. So you're getting a sense of how much stress, how much metabolic stress the baby's.
Correct. Yes, correct. But all I saw, so as a first year student, I'm clueless in terms of what the hell they're doing, at this point. And all I'm seeing is this woman writhing around on the bed saying, no, I need to. And she didn't say push. She said something like, I need to squeeze or something like that. And she's writhing around on the bed saying no, and then there's these like two doctors in between her legs trying to push this thing, do you know what I mean, inside of her while she's going no. And so as that first year student, I literally had, it's almost like this out of body experience where I can see what I'm seeing. I'm not understanding what is happening. And then she goes ahead. 3 doctors actually try to do that to her. And then she ends up just birthing the baby anyway. So it was completely unnecessary. And then for me, it wasn't until probably a good few months later, and I just happened to be having a massage with a girlfriend, and she hit this spot that I have on my shoulder where all stress goes. She hit that spot, and now I just absolutely did this massive release. And in my mind, I had this image straight to that woman in the hospital, what I witnessed. And then immediately inside of me, I just went, oh my God, she was being violated. I actually witnessed a violation because I felt that in my body, and having a history of that myself.
Could we just ask Paul, how would you see it from your point as a doctor there, Paul? Dr. Paul's an anesthetist.
Yeah, I'm retired, but I spent many years doing obstetric anesthesia, so I've seen things like you're describing and worse.
So that's a
and worse, and worse, because remember, you've got 2 patients, you've got the baby and you've got the mother, and sometimes it concerns over the baby can cloud, your care for the mother, although the mum always should come first, but
100%. It is her body after all.
Yeah, so from my point of view, the sense I got from 32 years in the hospital is that we don't do births and we don't do deaths well in our culture, and it's heartbreaking because they're important, you're welcome to the planet, and let's talk about welcome to country. This is the proper welcome to the planet.
Welcome to the light.
Yeah, welcome to the light. Welcome to this realm. And I saw a lot of death too, because that was the flip side of the job. People often older, but not always. Sometimes newborns who were, needing resuscitation and stuff. So my experience is very much based in that hospital system. And I was thinking, we were coming on tonight with you, and I remembered the words of my ONG professor when I was training at Royal Prince Alfred, and he said, nature is a bad midwife. so just to give you a sense of, this is no surprise to you, but this is the mindset that you have. And of course, the patients that I was involved with are not the healthy women who, the general thing. I get the ones that get involved when all the birth plans have fallen apart, and the trace is going off, and the babies have got meconium and showing other signs of stress, and the CTG is going off, and that balance between not freaking out the mum, because it's terrifying. I was going to have a birth in a spa bath with scented candles, and next thing they're in a brightly lit operating theatre with a dozen people around and freaking out.
I
tried to keep it calm for them, but and make it as good as possible under the circumstances. But that's just a sense of where I'm coming from. I'm not. I like you. I want to explore a better way that birth and death is dealt with in this country. But
a lot of the times the things that happen to women on those bad births, if you like, in the emergencies, are actually caused by the hospital procedure to start off with anyway. And then when it does turn into an emergency that's been caused by all these interventions, they don't facilitate those emergency scenarios very well. I mean, I've been in a situation where, when I worked in one of the local hospitals here, and it wasn't my room, but the emergency bell was called, and basically the woman next door was having a hemorrhage. And I just remember, like, everyone, goes in there who can help, walking in, and this mum is obviously, she's splayed out on the bed and obviously bleeding, and they're doing all the things, right? And it looks kind of scary. And then I kind of look over in the corner of the room, and the dad's there. He's absolutely shocked. Do you know what I mean? Looking at his wife, who's like splayed out, all these people running around her. The baby's crying its lungs out on the panda, the cot, perfectly fine. Everyone's ignoring that baby as well. But this poor man, and I actually went in and walked to the man and actually stood with him and actually talked him through what was happening and just explained to him, even though it looks bloody scary, like she's actually fine. And then the things that actually are safeguarding, if you like, for the mum in particular, let alone for the baby, isn't actually facilitated well. So in other words, like that mum, hemorrhaging, every midwife who does home births know this. If a mum is hemorrhaging, you do not separate mum from the baby. I mean, you got to do all the other things, but the baby is part of the life-saving equipment, So then having to like calm the dad down, get him to pick up his baby, come over, talk to the wife, so then she's also like come back and grounded in, rather than being absolutely, shocked and not supported.
In what way does the baby help with the hemorrhaging?
Sorry?
In what way does the baby help with the hemorrhaging mother?
Well, so let me just qualify this as well. So in the system, Paul, you can back me up on this. A hemorrhage in obstetrics is blood loss 500 mils or over. And so if they think, or they can see, the mum's lost 500 mils, or more, they automatically go into the the postpartum hemorrhage protocol. So all the things are done, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the mum is actually compromised and is, people think hemorrhage, they're bleeding out and they're going to die. It doesn't actually happen like that for the most part, unless it's in a cesarean, in a surgery where, they can't stop the uterus from contracting, etc. Sorry, they can't get the uterus to contract. But in terms of a birth at home or even in the hospital, the baby being connected to mum, there's an exchange of hormones where, that mum, while she's seeing her baby, she's holding her baby, her body physiologically isn't suddenly going to, not work, so to speak. There is this is nature. This is nature. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody was like, on a deserted island, and they have a baby all of a sudden with no medical support around or whatever, I can guarantee, hand on heart, like nothing's going to happen to the mum. She's just going to birth the baby, whatever the blood loss is. Do you know what I mean? If she's got that baby, like her body isn't going to let her suddenly like die, not protect her baby, basically. So yeah, and it's so different from a from a midwife's perspective and obstetrics, how we handle hemorrhages or what we view as needing escalation is so different.
Yeah, I agree. The baby ideally should be there on the mum, even best on the breast, because a baby suckling on the breast is going to trigger oxytocin release, which will help contract the uterus. Plus, if the mum is, the mum has been waiting for 9 months to meet this bubs. So just having them there on the chest will help reduce her blood pressure and her anxiety levels. I mean, I think that's, and plus it's sort of cruel to pull the baby out. Having said that, Norafiah, when I can think of situations where the bleeding was life-threatening, where we had to transfer women to the operating theater with a hand, up the vagina, tamponating it, with the woman barely conscious or unconscious from blood loss. So I have a holy respect for blood loss, but it can kill, and it can kill quickly. So
absolutely, I absolutely don't deny that.
But what I will say is when I was junior, the first Caesars that I assisted in and the first births I was involved with, that 500 mils seems like, you see it, it's like you go, holy shit, this is routine, with the placenta and everything else coming out. So there's a perception. There's the difference between the perception of the bleeding being massive versus when bleeding actually is. And sometimes the most scary one was a woman who actually was having her 8th child, very thin uterus, and it tore. And it tore internally, and she was bleeding internally. And it took quite a while to work out by the surgeons that she was actually bleeding internally, and ended up needing to be transferred to theatre for an urgent hysterectomy for blood loss. So, but this is not the norm. This is not the routine.
I was going to say
this is not the average. This is not the average. This is why we've got such. You can understand, like, you've seen so many normal births, and my experience is very different. So the memories that come to my mind and the experiences that I recall are different, but I think we're coming from the same place in that we don't want an over medicalized experience of birth and death, unnecessarily medicalized. Is that a fair comment?
Oh, that's right. Unfortunately, birth has become medicalized, though, and it's the same with midwifery as a profession. It's a profession, and I think, like I spoke about this at the home birth conference last year in Adelaide. People still have this and I was one of those people. This romanticized view of like what midwifery is or does. And people still think it's like, back in the old days when it's like your granny and, that kind of granny figure who does and says all the right things and knows all the herbs and all of this sort of stuff. And there is such a disconnect between, how people view midwifery and what it actually is. And at the moment, it's a profession and it's regulated. And, midwives were like autonomous practitioners. Like historically, they weren't under any government body do you know what I mean? It was that woman who knew the thing, who just happened to be the one that they all went to, and after years of helping women and having all the experiences, she becomes the expert, and then they called her the midwife, which means with woman, right? So one of the things I spoke about at that home birth conference is like, as a midwife now, you really, and particularly since COVID, like if that wasn't the line in the sand, I don't know what is. And so
how long were you a midwife, as a practicing midwife, before APRA got onto you?
It's only 8 years. So I considered,
yeah.
But I still considered myself a fledgling. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the number of women and families that you support that is going to give you the experience, and it takes many. You should be learning from every family anyway. But but when COVID hit, basically, because I was already a endorsed midwife then, and obviously nobody wanted to give birth in the hospital, and so my practice just blew up, and it was great. And I didn't have to I didn't do any more casual shifts at the hospital, but then it kind of started all the reportings that happened to APRA from other practitioners. Like I've never ever been reported by a family. It's always been another
important.
Health
so nobody that you no one you worked with reported you. You were reported by doctors and nurses or other things like other midwives. Is that what you reported by?
Yeah. And Paul would know this. When you get reported, you get a copy of the complaint, and it's all redacted, the person's name, but you can tell by the way they write it, like who it's from. And one of the reportings that I had actually, and I knew this was a midwife who must have had a clinic, because she said, because of apparently what I posted up on Facebook, she had a couple of her clients decline the newborn screening. The newborn blood tests, not blood tests, vaccinations, the newborn vaccinations or something.
And so the Hep B and the vitamin K.
Yeah. And she got really upset about that, because she said, that's because of my posts. And I'm like, I didn't see her women. I have no idea who she's talking about.
Wow.
But, if it actually made a mum stop to think, do her own research, work out whether, it's going to be any good for her babies or not, well, then that's what I'm all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's called informed consent, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. It has become. Look, medicine's always been paternalistic, I guess, and prescriptive. But I don't see it as benign anymore. Not like I did before COVID. What that was for me, that just shattered any myth that we can trust the profession, because they were complicit with the regulators. The regulators coerced them and said, if you, God forbid, you say anything negative about our policies and our campaigns, you will not be able to work in this town. You won't be able to work in this country, and I saw great danger. I remember they were talking about giving anesthesia for people who were vaccine hesitant, because treating it like a mental illness, to choose not to take the synthetic gene injections that had no long-term safety testing, and the people were being coerced into that somehow that was a mental illness that you could sedate people around. And it's the same with maids and medical assistants in dying. I used to have a degree of confidence in it before COVID, but I don't trust the profession like I did now, precisely because of what's happened to informed consent. It means you're not telling the patients the truth anymore, and the government's okay with it.
Yeah, and in our training, I actually don't remember that ever being thoroughly discussed. And when you're a student and you're learning these things, I actually learned more about this with the maternity advocacy group that I volunteer with than what I ever got in my training. Like spelling it out, this is what it actually looks like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And given that, even as a midwife, in our code of conduct, it actually says, I think it's 2.3 or whatever, it's informed consent. The woman has a right to informed consent, and then now when women don't comply, particularly for women who choose what they would consider not the norm, they might just go to a GP for the antenatal care, or they just choose to just see their nutritionist or naturopath or whatever. When they go into the hospital and if they don't comply, then they can be reported to Child Protective Services, and all because they've just asked a question. Honestly, I have many stories of from women saying all they did was go, well, why do you need to give that to my baby, or what's the evidence, or
the Hep B, for instance, they give that on the day of birth, and it's something that I didn't question for decades. And exactly. Now, after COVID, I'm thinking, I realized that it was first approved on a study of 147 babies that were followed up for 5 days. And then on the basis of that, they gave it to hundreds of millions of babies. And that's not evidence, and that's, you should be able to question. You have you must question that. And that's one of the things that would scare me about. I wouldn't last a day because I'd be doing a Caesar, everything would be going well, and then they'd come out and they'd be, injecting these kids with the Hep B. And I think the right to say no to an intervention is integral to informed consent.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about coercion. You're talking about threats that you might be reported to the authorities and lose your child because you're not going on. That is not informed consent. We are being treated like cattle. We are being coerced in multiple ways, and it's not good enough.
No, and it's the same. It's the same when a woman and her partner come into the hospital during labour as well. At any point, and that's your medical right as well. At any point, everything is an offer, right? Whatever intervention, whatever thing that they want to do to you, it's an offer. So at any point, you have to have informed consent. And if you decline, that's your right to do that. But when it comes to, women giving birth, it's no, she doesn't have any agency, or not allowed any agency over her body. Do you know what I mean? And then when they pull the, do you want a dead baby? That is the classic standard thing that they pull. And even if you know, if people know that even in labor and they have all those monitoring, the heart rate monitoring stuff, well, that the CTG was introduced with no evidence. It was like a marketing ploy, and it hasn't proved to be the life-saving, you know, piece of equipment that it was introduced in the first place. Do you know what I mean? And then they use it to coerce women to accept or acquiesce to the intervention, you know, forceps, vacuum, whatever. It's cesarean section, like it's a cesarean section. It's an emergency cesarean because, you know, your baby's distressed or your baby's not happy. But what does that mean exactly for a woman in labour?
There's a can I ask what happened when you started getting these complaints? Did APRA come after you straight away, or what happened from there? How long did it take from when the complaints came in to when you were suddenly in trouble with APRA?
I think it was within a couple of weeks. The first one that came was to do with the post, my post. So I had like my business page posts and my private Facebook page, and my private is, you know, set on the privacy settings, whatever that means anyway. And the person who reported me was obviously like attached to like a friend of a friend, or however the Facebook you know, connections work. But she had screenshotted, like, it must have been nearly a month's worth of posts that I did, and I'm very tongue-in-cheek. And I like to take the piss. So I was, you know, posting all this stuff about it. And she had screenshotted, as well as on my business page, I just did 2 posts. One, I said, at the time, I used to work for a local family-run GP practice who were brilliant. They were so supportive of, you know, what I did and everything. But anyway, I had put on my Facebook page, hey, women, you know, if you're going to come to clinic, if you are not going to mask up, I'll assume, you know, you've got an exemption, you know, privacy, And then I said, if you are getting the vaccination, can I ask that you please refrain from booking in for a couple of weeks? Because I said, I had heard about this shedding stuff that's going around. I don't know enough about it. I've got an obligation and a duty to like protect my other clients if it's such a thing. So can you please do that? And then the second post, it was a panel. I can't remember who was on the panel, but they were basically, you know, an international panel of, like, you know, the microbiologists and, you know, the mRNA vaccinologists or whatever. And they were talking about it. And I just posted it up and I said, something of interest, you know, that's it. And that was what I got reported for.
Well, you were the veteran here.
One of the reports.
Paul was suspended for Facebook posts as well.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I had 60 Facebook followers.
60.
And they considered me so dangerous. The memes that I was posting were so dangerous, it warranted immediate action powers for public protection. That's how good my memes are. You know, they're pretty bloody good memes. But they, you know, we can see the clampdown on free speech. We can see the clampdown on free thought, because if you can't speak, it's you're controlling the minds of the population. You're saying you must think a certain way, and the profession, the health professions, with the help of APRA, with the help of their colleges and regulatory bodies, were the first to take this allow this weaponized way of controlling speech and communication, because, you know, your views on these things shouldn't be the concern of the regulators. It was never their job to regulate the speech of practitioners. So in a sense, the healthcare workers were the first cohort to lose our rights of free speech during COVID, and even before COVID. We know Jerif Cock and others who were attacked for their views. And if these views do not impact on your relationship within the practice, within the labour ward, within the operating theatre, or within your practice office, it's a real egregious overreach by the regulators and by the professional bodies, by the Healthcare Complaints Tribunal and by APRA. And it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. And so that's the takeaway from me. We were the first to be gagged. We were the first to be guilty of thought crimes. But now it's coming to everyone.
You are, Norafiah. So what did they do when they came after you? Did they suspend you straight away, or what happened?
The investigation was really, I just had to comply. So the insurers, because you have to have insurance, right, with as an endorsed midwife, and the lawyer lady was lovely, but it was just a compliancy exercise, because even the report that reporting aside, the rest of it, where the doctors or the nurse or midwife was reporting me for apparently my clinical practice, the investigator, the APRA investigator themselves, they didn't have a fucking clue. Sorry, they didn't have a clue what.
Now she said vagina and fucking. It's been 41 minutes.
But you know what I mean? They didn't have a bloody clue what I did. Like, they couldn't read my notes that actually spelled everything out. I remember one of the guys, the doctor who actually reported me for this one, she just hated me anyway. Yeah. And I knew she was going to report me when it happened, right? And she basically falsified or told porcupines about me. She said I'd falsified document, and I hadn't. She said that I hadn't recognized my client's deterioration and she had to be resuscitated. She didn't. She said the woman had hemorrhage, and she hadn't. Do you know what I mean? Wow. And then the investigator who looked through, because I had to answer to all their, because they actually what do you call it? They look at your code, what you did against your code of conduct and your professional. I'm trying to say that the clinical, the clinical stuff that you did, right? And he didn't understand what, I don't know, I think it was something like the IV fluids, or it was just something so basic. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to have faith in this process? And it didn't matter what I said, it didn't matter what evidence I produced, and all my notes and all of that kind of stuff. It was like, well, we still found that you were in breach of this and whatever.
I think that's an important point, though. Earlier in my practice, for most of the years, before the medical board turned into the medical council and this whole new framework of complaint. It's all about complaints. Pick a complaint. It was a different world where if mistakes happen, bad outcomes happen. In the health practice, but it was always your peers. It was people who understood what the job was and what the issues were, and they were the. You didn't have some woke retard from bureaucratsville who doesn't know Arthur from Arthur and has no idea what the job is. Sitting judgment on you. So that's one of the things I've always hated these bureaucrats, because it's a cancer that's crept through our society, and I saw it happening in the hospital system first, just like the censorship and the other things. And when I started the hospitals, I was surrounded by practitioners, people who were actually looking after patients, nurses, social workers, physios, doctors, and now they're all gone. They're all gone. They've all been pushed out by bureaucrats, and I've watched that happen over my life, and it annoyed the hell out of me. Little did I realize that they would come to rule the roost, and now we've got politicians, saint politicians, acting as our doctors and midwives and health practitioners, psychologists.
Well, this, yeah. Well, the stupid thing is, like with the private midwives or endorsed midwives in particular, they're like your case, if you like, is supposed to go then to the nursing and midwifery board, and then they are supposed to kind of overlook, or whatever they put together. Anyway, so after, I don't know, the third or the fourth or the fifth reporting, I kind of got curious to see who is on this national and midwifery board that's kind of overlooking all of this. And then I saw, and I don't know whether she would have been one of the people, but one of the board members, she used to be one of my lecturers at uni.
Oh.
And in third year, in my final year, I actually got into trouble with she called me to her office with the head of school because I got into trouble for supporting a woman, would you believe? I was at a woman's house before the midwife got here, and I wasn't supposed to do that apparently, and I had no idea the woman was in labor. Do you know what I mean? So I got dragged over the coals for that. So in hindsight, I probably should have known that I was always going to be in trouble for something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For being with women,
Amazing. So how did it proceed from there? Did they suspend you first? I mean, what happened with that?
No, they didn't suspend me. It was just like, it was a case of like one, what was it? The first reporting, then rolled into the second one, then rolled into the next one.
Oh, they kept coming in.
They just kind of kept coming in. So the first one I had
were they anonymous? So they were all anonymous.
Well, yeah, because they don't tell you who.
Because this is what Miley Trend does. This seems to be a practice of APRA that suddenly these doctors who've never had any complaints ever, I've interviewed loads and nurses, and then suddenly they come on APRA's website or radar, and then suddenly all these anonymous people are going, oh, he did this and he did. Paul got one. After he wasn't even practicing, he got one, didn't he? It was anonymous.
This was a year after. I sued the suspension, the medical council in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, wow.
And
I
in my pajamas on some occasions.
And lockdown, see, so he's doing it on screen. I'm just giving some context, Paul. He's doing it on screen. So here up, he's got his suit. Downstairs, he's got his pajamas.
No, I wore pants for the video calls. Respect for the courts, but I don't respect the process. But it was hilarious. And for a year they left me alone. And then about a year after that, I got the first new anonymous complaint, and it was basically, we don't like what he's posting on X, we don't like what he's writing on Substack, you should discipline him. And I was amazed that they, even on the basis of such a flimsy complaint, clearly vexatious, clearly baseless, attacking just my free speech, it was like, but like you say, the process is the punishment. You still have to.
It really is.
If you want to maintain your registration, you have to respond to these dickheads. I mean, whatever. Because they will make threats. They will, threaten you with, all sorts of stuff. And you are compelled. So you have to sit there and make a response to these most ridiculous complaints. Nothing to do with practice, nothing, just like I didn't like his post on X. And that's meant to be enough now to have a complaint that the Health Commission took seriously enough to compel me with lawyers to make a response. And you see, that's how the lawfare works, because, eventually maybe a doctor will kill himself. Maybe doctor will have a heart attack or a stroke. I mean, they're wielding weapons. They're wielding weapons. This is why I call them motherfucking cocksuckers, because they are doing real harm, and they're clueless. And we're now in a society where we have these bureaucrats and politicians deciding on our individual health choices and care, and they're not qualified. And even if they were, they haven't suspended informed consent. One of the things I've been thinking, I will wrap this up, but one of the things I've been thinking about is, everything in our society is based on contract law, which is a voluntary. You have to enter into a contract voluntarily. If it's based on fraud or lies or coercion, it's not a valid contract. So we've got a society which is based on contract law, and we don't have the free choice. Everything that happened during COVID nullified all these things because they were lying, they were coercing, and it's completely at odds with the very basis of society, and yet we're carrying on as if nothing has happened. Okay, I'll get
absolutely.
That's a great short.
No.
Can I ask before we go on, Norafiah? Before
Yeah.
we go on with your story, do you feel now, looking back, that this the punishment is the process? It's not just to get you and try basically harass you, but to scare other midwives, going, look what we're doing to her. You want them to? You want us to do it to you?
100%. That was one of the things I was going to say. Actually, it is because because I remember, whether when I was working, as a midwife, particularly in the hospital, they bang on about writing contemporaneous notes, making sure like you're covering your ass. You're literally told you got to cover your ass because, God forbid, you're going to be reported to APRA, etc., right? But the practitioners who actually are doing harm to women, nothing happens to them. They actually get away with, medical negligence, harm, damage, and this is one of the things that's really kind of frustrating when things, like in the work that I do, the women are so traumatized, right? It's bad enough there's not enough support to kind of help them unpack all of that. And there is a process where they can put in, a complaint, but they're not supported in that because, Paul, you're saying about, it's contract law, etc., right? There is a specific way where you put in a complaint where, it has more of an impact and you can kind of get something done. The way that women are told, just fill out, here's our complaints form, send it in through the whatever website, yada, yada. And then women just come across sounding like they're hysterical, you know what I mean? Like, what does it matter now, woman? Like, you've got a healthy baby, just go home. And yes, we did this, but but we can justify it because this is our process or this is the procedure, whatever, which, that meanwhile, the mum has to go home and take care of that baby. She's not sleeping. She's having recurring nightmares or flashbacks to the incident where she's being violated. Like, like, how is that fair? And women who think that, I just, I don't want to I don't want to report the midwife. I don't want her to lose a job or the doctor, whatever. They do not lose their jobs. They get a slap on the wrist. Do you know what I mean? But midwives like myself, and I'm sure there are quite a few like myself who've actually left the system since COVID, where we say the slightest little thing and it's like, whammo, you're up in front of a panel or you've got to do some bullshit training. I had to do some bullshit training online.
Re-education.
Re-education. Bloody hell.
So you didn't get hacked, you didn't get deregistered. You just quit? Is that what?
I quit. Yeah, after the 7th one.
You knew that was happening? Yeah.
So I fought so long and hard, like with myself, like, what am I going to do? And I hate this, and this isn't me, yada, yada, yada. And I felt so, even before the reportings, I actually kind of felt like I had shackles on me, like I couldn't really do what I wanted to do in the way I wanted to do to support the women and how they needed. And when the last reporting came in, basically we had transferred into the hospital just for pain relief. And then my client got railroaded into having another cesarean, and it wasn't even an emergency. They kicked me out of the theatre when I'm trying to advocate for her and all of that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I fucking give up, I'm done. And then I knew the hospital was going to report me for that. So then I was like, fuck it. And I did a breathwork session.
Yeah.
And because I was like, battling with this. And in the session, this voice said to me, what are you afraid of? And I said, I'm going to lose my job, my livelihood. And then the voice said, well, so what? You've had 100 other jobs before. Midwifery wasn't even something that you were passionate about and you would, had a burning desire to do. So what, get another job? And then it said, well, what else? What else are you afraid of? And I said, I might go to jail. And then the voice goes, so what? Take it as a break. When you're in jail, I don't know, learn law or something and then come out and
why
have
would you
all that
want
time.
to jail? Why would you?
I don't know. This is one of the fears that I had.
Fear. Yeah, the fear,
this is the fear, which is why I did the breathwork session.
Yeah.
And then the last time, and then I'm breathing in this session. And then the last one, I was like, what else? What else are you afraid of? And I said, well, I'm going to die. And then it just this voice laughed at me and it said, dude, you have reincarnated back here like 1,000,000 times over. So you just come back around again and keep having a laugh. And so then that actually cemented it for me.
Do you feel that the hospital system, based on what Paul says, but based on you, because you've come in to say in 8 years, what it really wants is not advocacy from the nurses, it's compliance.
100%.
And it's basically all aimed at controlling anything they could get sued for. So if they're going to get sued for anything, controlling it, making sure they can cover things up really quickly. So
your Facebook posts aren't going to get anyone sued. It's all about control.
It's control.
It's about complete compliance.
Absolutely.
For decades, I had the temerity of seeing babies born, and I would go, "It's a boy," or "It's a girl." I guess you were doing the same bizarre behavior too. Is that right? Were you noticing that there were boys and girls being born? You didn't go, this is a non-binary.
How dare I?
Rainbow creature. And look, because it's sort of topical because, this week we had the federal court ruling on what a real woman is, and in Tickle versus Giggle, and I can't believe it. All those years, I was spotting a gender, like just after birth. Were you doing the same?
You just hadn't done the gender course yet, Paul. That was ahead of you.
No, that's right.
You've done the gender online course.
You need to be re-educated.
You're still a doctor now.
Clearly. I looked. I'm sure that's the position they came to, that Dr. Paul needs to be re-educated, and that was going to be a dead loss, wasn't it?
Can I ask Norafiah, when you left, how was it actually walking away from it? Because it's 8 years, a lot of, you've done courses for it. So I know this voice says that, but it's not as easy as that. When you've invested so much time, you thought maybe I'm getting on now. This is something I'm going to do. And I got a feeling you became to like some elements of it. So how was it leaving?
It was actually a relief, to be honest.
Okay.
I was just like, oh, thank God I don't have to fill out do those stupid CPDs, which is meaningless, just so people know, CPD, continuous professional development. Like I actually just kept like a casual shift at the hospital because it was easier for me to do it. But, it's just like a repeat of like hand washing or hand hygiene or some bullshit thing. It wasn't anything meaningful for your job, really. So, just so you can like crank it out.
It was really important for the bureaucrats to justify the whole floor of the hospital that's full of people in offices. It justifies them, but it's not just medicine. I've heard we've got very high proportion of people employed by the government now. So this is what happens when you move into a state run, where you don't have autonomy and independence. So we're talking about autonomy, just even have opinions as a health practitioner. let alone
Yeah.
thinking, I think they should be treated this way versus that way. We've got such a, to me, it's like what happened in China during the communist revolution. I think we've experienced nothing short of a tickle has a pickle. Thanks, Jess.
Yes.
I feel like we've lived.
Put that back. I got a screenshot. That's hilarious.
That we've lived through something akin to the communist revolution, and then on the other side of it, they say, "Oh, left, right." I almost feel like you had to be a good Nazi to be in the system. All they cared. We have Nazi
system followers. Yep.
Because in Nazi Germany, everything they did was completely legal according to the Nazi law and the Nazi courts. So in our COVID courts and our current regime, it's all perfectly legal. It doesn't mean it's moral. It doesn't mean that they are crimes against humanity. It doesn't mean that it's not based on fraud and deception. COVID broke my trust, not just in the profession, but in all our institutions, and I think the good news, perhaps from your point of view, is I can see that more people will want to avoid hospitals. And
they already do. Yeah.
And I think it's sensible, because when you look at the statistics, hospitals are dangerous places. Iatrogenic or medical harm.
It's leading cause, isn't it?
It was the third leading cause, but I think since COVID it's moved to number one. But you could argue that it's still number two. So I think it's quite
very good. I have to say they're very good to me. I wouldn't be here without them. So when the cardiac ward, I have to say that I was treated well. But I did see things that you're saying. I did see silence. I did see people scared to talk. They couldn't bring up anything. They couldn't talk around me at all, about anything at all. They literally, I was dangerous that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I felt it for them. I felt that what I felt was, here are these really good people. I remember one guy, he was a POM, but he was, and he'd quit the job in stock market, a stock market analyst, making a fortune, he said. And I heard him talking late at night to this old guy. I said, yes, it was just soulless. So I wanted to be a nurse. Everyone thought I was crazy, but he was just beautiful at it. And he really helped me one night. You know what I mean? He was just so great at what he did, just making you feel terrific. It just lifting your spirits, really. And I thought, why is this man being forced to take all these vaccinations and everything else he has to do just to serve me? Because he was serving me, he wanted to help me. But why do we, as the people who are receiving their care from these people, force them to go, well, if you want to care for us, you've got to take this and this and this and this and this. I feel that's a real crime, and that it should be complete choice to the nurses whether they take it or not. I just feel that was abhorrent, Yep. Even when I was in there, I heard some nurse come in saying, we've got the new vaccination, and you could see the nurses just like went and coming up with weak excuses not to take it. You could see that they were trapped. They had to do the job, but they didn't want to take this. But this bureaucratic nurse was like, no, come on, you got to do it. You got to do it. That's the thing. Line up, Yeah, I felt very sorry.
Well, that's the thing. They have us working outside of our integrity. Do you know what I mean? And so, like in my in my birth mentorship, like I tell the women, like you cannot, like you can't be in the space to support women if you don't know who you are and you don't have like your own principles and. Do you know what I mean? Like have your own beliefs and all of that stuff sorted, because inevitably they're not coming to you because you do X, Y, and Z. There is an element of that, but they come to you as opposed to somebody else because of you. And so if you're a person that they know has principles and ethics, you do what you say, do you know what you mean? And you do your job well, you support people in the way that they need, however that is, then that's what keeps people coming back. And people can trust that, not just because you have a big fancy schmancy, office and title or whatever. And I'm sure that, there are a lot of people like trapped in the system, so to speak, because, mortgages and they love their jobs, but it's like, hands are tied. But what's that saying? That saying about, something about evil persisting when good people do nothing or whatever.
People do nothing,
and so, so it's like at the start of
Evil
COVID,
authority.
right? Everybody saying, like, if all the health professionals just kind of went, nah, this is bullshit, we're not doing it. Everybody did it en masse. And just like now for me, right? And just like now for me in midwifery, if all like I was told when I became when I got my endorsement, became a private midwife, I was told like APRA fucking hates private midwives because like we kind of do our own thing, like we're independent practitioners, right? I thought that was a bit of a joke because I'm like, how can an administrative body, some bureaucrat, hate private midwives that know nothing about what we do, right? And then lo and behold, they do actually. But like I lost my
they don't like autonomy, do they? They don't like autonomy.
No, they don't. And like with the midwives, they need midwives in the system because there isn't enough of us, right?
Yeah.
And particularly your endorsed private midwives who can look after, low risk women or, well, not even low risk, provide the continuity of care, which they say is the gold standard, right? To assist the woman or help the woman like to home birth or wherever she chooses to give birth. But if you want to call it a profession, isn't supported at all. Like, even to this day, there isn't insurance, private health, public insurance basically for a home birth. So as an endorsed midwife, you have to have insurance, right? But the insurance will only cover you for the antenatal period and the postpartum period, but not for the home birth itself. But we pay top dollar, but private midwives pay top dollar premium for the insurance. So tell me how that makes sense even.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to read this here from Elon Cathagen. It's not public demanding that staff are injected. It's the politicians who get big money kickbacks from the drug companies if the medical staff have to get the jabs. It's the politicians. Thanks, Elon. This is really interesting. I just going back to that point. What have you done now since? Have you managed to find other employment since?
I'm so used to working for myself. So I do massages. So I actually still support women, in their motherhood journey. So I do birth debriefs, particularly for women who've had traumatic births. And so what that involves, and because I work with a community, a maternity consumer network as well, we actually request their medical records, and then, I kind of help them make sense of what happened. And then if they feel like they want to put a complaint in, then I help through the maternity consumer network because, they're such an amazing organization, actually, all run by mothers, by the way, who are not paid. They're all volunteers.
Wow.
Just to add that. Yeah. But
Tad Askew was talking to a midwife recently, and she said that it's rare to have a normal birth now. All mums seem to have high blood pressure too. We were talking about, we had another midwife on, and she was saying that the bleeding happens a lot now, and a lot more women are being sent through to emergency. I can't prove it, just what she said.
I still have friends who work in the tertiary hospitals, and that just anecdotally they, but they're on the same page as me in terms of like most of these women have either had the jab or their partners have, whereas the women that I support, like pregnancy massages, and I run donation days for massage, but I also run little villages and information sessions, and then women coming in sharing the things. a lot of the women who choose not to go down the normal route, if you like, they are bloody fit, healthy, unjabbed. Do you know what I mean? Like, ugh, honestly, it's just so easy. So I
They're taking
don't,
responsibility for their own health. Yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it all comes
So,
down to choice. It all comes down
does.
to choice. That's what got taken away. It gets taken away from the carers and the hospital staff who have to take these jabs. That's their choice is taken away, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what it all comes down to. And then they can't have free speech because they can't say, I don't want to take this fucking jab because
No.
free speech has been taken away. So they've lost
Yeah.
2 core freedoms. And this is where we're heading now because this is,
Yeah.
we need these freedoms. And
Yeah.
especially freedom of choice, freedom of speech, because it's how we identify problems and then we can fix them. If you can't talk about anything, you can't identify it. How can you fix it? Yeah.
No, that's right. So yeah, so
Is
no,
there
it's
anything else you want to get
been
off your chest
interesting.
tonight before we because I'm just going to have a bit of a go with Paul myself because he's probably got a lot of tweets to talk about. Is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest tonight, Norafiah?
Yeah, I just if anything, I just want to part of the reason why the reason me coming on is just to kind of let listeners and people aware of the fact that families who choose to birth outside of the system, or even if they do birth in the system, the whole no informed consent stuff, but they're actually also being punished in other ways. Like their babies are like overly treated if they have to go into the neonatal unit. They get reported to Child Protective Services just for asking questions. All of that, it's actually really insidious. I mean, it could be like a whole completely separate other show just to kind of talk about that. But what is happening now as well is that when I say I think the government, there's an agenda to regulate doulas. So doulas, for people who don't know, are support mums in labour. They're non-medical. So, they might, do massage and hip squeezing or get food and all that kind of stuff. And in the last couple of years, there've been loads of news splattered about where a baby's died at home or a mum's died at home, and they're blaming free birthing doulas or whatever. But when a baby dies at home in particular, whether they are not with anyone or they've got a registered midwife supporting them, an endorsed midwife, the family and the midwife is actually treated like a criminal, like you're investigated. Yeah. And I don't know whether people are aware of that. But if the baby dies in hospital, it's a completely different kettle of fish, right? And so now they're trying to regulate doulas, I think, is the bigger agenda. And we can't let this happen because, doulas to me are like the last, they've already got the midwives, they're shackled, they're registered, they're done. But with the doulas, if there's no one else to support the mum, then who is left? And bringing babies into the world, it is, people just think, oh, it's another baby, it's adding to the family, yada, yada, yada. But what people don't realize is this is the next generation. This is us, humanity. Do you know what I mean? And we can't have more trauma. We can't have more traumatic, people being born onto the planet. So it's just so important how mums and families are actually supported and protected actually in this whole space. So it's to me, this is like the last frontier. And just so that families know as well that, if you're going by the law, that nobody else can advocate for you. It's legally, you have to advocate for yourself because you're the one with the power. Do you know what I mean? It's your right, it's your informed consent. And so if you think that, the doula is going to speak on your behalf or your midwife's going to speak on your behalf, it doesn't really hold any weight. Do you know what I mean? If it goes to court, the decision has to come from you. So for the women out there listening, I guess it's if you're going to be going into the system to have your babies, just know you have the power and there are people who can and will help you navigate your way through that. So whether it be, just educating yourself about the law and how to speak up for yourself. And then what the process is, if you can put a complaint in, like there is a way to do it in the way that is going to get attention, let's put it this way. So and myself, no, I don't have a website. I do have I just have a Facebook page, but if anyone wants to follow up afterwards, I can just leave you some details, Michael.
Sure. Yeah, look, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing it. This is all the stuff we're talking about, how we get our country back to common sense, decency, and a lot of humanity, because it's as Paul said, it's just red tape now. And
it is.
Was just bound up in it,
Yeah,
I think that's because you got too big a government and everyone's trying to justify their existence. So everyone has, you got to fill in this form, you got to do this, And so it's just insane, It
is. But can I just one thing to add though, Michael and Paul, like, don't lose hope, because do you know what I mean? And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to break us down, separate us, all of that kind of stuff. But like from where I stand and the families I support and serve, they are amazing. These babies coming through now are amazing, and they are super powerful, and they are effing pissed. I'll have to tell you, they have got shit to do, these new babies coming through. And I think it's up to us as well not to leave them, a bigger shit fight than what they're going to have to deal with. Do you know what I mean?
One last question. When you started, you said that you weren't really interested in being a midwife, and you didn't have any children. Once you were in it, though, did that change? Did you get a liking for being around new babies?
Oh, babies are amazing. They are magic. They actually teach us more than what we think that we teach them. But it's the women for me, because and I don't know, it's probably because I don't have children. I end up kind of mothering. It's a whole kind of mother energy, and I just realized the reason why my husband and I didn't have children in this lifetime is because this is what I'm here to do. Yeah. So despite losing, midwifery, where people think, oh my gosh, that's a calling. Well, yes, but my actual call, it is, but not in that professional sense. I am actually being called to be with women. Yeah. And I don't need a registration, or I don't need a title to be able to do that. So.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
I wish you the best, Norafiah. Thanks for coming on. Maybe
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah. It's a pleasure. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Paul.
I need your late notice.
Yes, I hadn't. I lost an hour of getting ready time, but anyway, I'm here.
That's all right. That's all right. Now,
that was good. That was great talking with Norafiah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
I didn't realize the insurance, that they couldn't get cover. So you see, if you don't provide insurance, then how are you going to have home births?
Yeah.
So you can see the system is funneling people into hospitals, and then in hospitals, there's that's a factory. That's a machine. So it's all about it all seems to be designed to strip autonomy and freedom, autonomy of the practitioners, and the freedom of the patients. But like you, I agree with you. I was in hospital this year, and the staff were lovely, and the individuals, doctors and nurses were wonderful. I'm not railing against them, except perhaps Dr. Dan. To me, he's the epitome.
Did he pop in?
Only in my nightmares, but he's like the epitome of the good Nazi doctor, because he's so thoroughly bought into the.
I haven't seen it for a while, actually. You asked me to ban him, but he's been leaving me alone for a while. So is he on your case now? He sort of flits.
From the start, I found it difficult to talk with him because he's like I say, he's just so fixed. He does you can't. But I remember when we did do the debate with Dr. Dan a couple of years ago, he was very quiet when I was talking about the ethics of what was going on. He didn't say a word, and I think that's the point. And that's my concern about all those good practitioners out there. That they've been cowered into not defending human rights, the right of free speech and the right of bodily autonomy, and So, like I said with Norafiah, it's the giggle versus tickle. That was a bit of a gut punch.
You should come on the quiz show tomorrow because we're just going to do 2 questions. One of this is this case, and what is a woman is one of the questions we're going to do, and then the other one is why are we expected to placidly walk into extinction as AI comes and takes everybody's job, or do we have the right to actually truly arc up because it's an extinction event in a way, So
yeah, I think so. But I love Norafiah's attitude, and I think we should take the piss out of him mercilessly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, last week or the week before, I think I was talking about Fauci and the lab leak, and I've been posting about that because I've got timestamps where I've pointed out things. So I might just quickly mention them. This was.
The other thing I was going to ask you about was the covered up data that's come out from England, where 1 in 7 had a serious adverse reaction. I'd really like to get a copy of that or something. I hadn't seen that. I know you talked about it. George talked about it today.
Yes.
As well, but yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. I can find that post, but I've got some comments on that. This was a CIA whistleblower, and
policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration.
Wow.
Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20 plus years.
So his testimony is definitely worth watching. It was it was excellent, and there's an Australian connection. And I saw Jicky Leaks posted a reminder about Eddie Holmes. We had Aussies right up there in this manufactured conspiracy to blame it on pangolins and Batsu,
yeah. And I just have to mention too, Gert van der Bosch is coming back next Sunday.
Awesome.
This Sunday.
Wow. A week from now.
Peter, is it McKernan? Who's the guy in Japan? We had him on once.
Kevin McKernan. No, we haven't had Kevin McCann on.
We've had one guy from Japan, the one who's doing the research about filtering the blood. I'm sure we had him on once.
No.
He was bumping around.
Not with me. We were going to, but he didn't come on that day. Did you notice that the hantavirus?
He's talking about the amyloid stuff, though.
Yes.
Richard Hirschman, he's talking about that and saying it's misfolded proteins, and he sees it as terrifying. He says it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. I watched he on Rumble. You can find the Health Alliance Australia on Rumble. There's an interview with him from a year ago, and I remember telling you 2 years ago I saw another interview he did also with Health Alliance Australia, where I had to come to grips with the idea that both the virus and the injection were both bioweapons. In other words, both engineered to do harm. And just having to process that and how it linked in with the prion signal, the amyloid signal 2.5 years ago, it put me in bed for a week. I was just like, holy shit, could this be real? And it's one of those things yes, it does appear very real, but of course the exciting thing is that we're starting to see perhaps ways of treating it, although, like I said, they're not just take a pill, they're quite invasive procedures, this dual filtration.
That's what Nurse Lindsay's going through. Well, I've been following her. She might actually come on to talk about it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the that and the stem cell. I mean, that's very exciting. Yeah, we should talk about Barry too. But just a quick call out to the hantavirus. This week they, the same COVID conspiracy crisis actor somehow ended up being on the ship. On the hantavirus cruise ship, so yeah. What are the odds of that? I mean,
unlucky guy.
Yeah, that's take. So look, remember how I was saying the reason I'm a bit of a dog at the bone on this is that this tweet is from February 2022, and I was watching Fox News, the Fox Business Channel. And I saw this interview. I'll just play it. It's only a minute.
Now scientists find the virus contains a tiny chunk of DNA that matches sequence patented by Moderna 3 years before the pandemic began. Your reaction, Stefan? What can you tell us?
So my scientists are looking into those data to see how accurate they are or not. As I've said before, the hypothesis of an escape from a lab by an accident is possible. Human makes mistakes. So is it possible that the Wuhan lab in China was working on viruses enhancement or gene modification? And then there was an accident where somebody was infected in the lab and then infected their families and friends. It is possible. On the claim you just mentioned, the scientists are analyzing to know if it's real or not.
Yeah, I mean, I was struck by the line, it matched a genetic sequence patented by Moderna for cancer research purposes, Stefan.
Yeah, and that's the type of things that the team is looking at very carefully to know is it real or not. Okay. So it takes a bit.
Yeah, they're still looking. They're still looking 4 years later. This committee, and to put a bit more color on that sequence that was on the post, I don't know if you can make it CTC, CTC, GGC. I was thinking that this hashtag would take off like nothing, go viral 4 years ago. And
how many views did it have? Like 3?
It's no one gets what it means. Within those the 19 nucleotides, you had the furin cleavage site. So Dr. Dan did a post the other week saying he generated some Grok based AI slop to say, the furin cleavage site isn't important. And I went, hang on, Dan, what about these 19? The furin cleavage site, it's not just that there's a furin cleavage site, because the zoonotic crowd are going, the pangolin had sex with a bat crowd, are trying to say, oh no, the furin cleavage site can suddenly appear within these viruses. And I'm going, yeah, well, getting a whole snip of to patent 19 nucleotides, you have to have modified it. It has to be synthetic. It can't be a natural sequence. So it was. So I said, yes, the fingerprints are on the murder weapon. We're forming a committee or two to investigate. That's exactly how I saw it back in 22, and I don't think it's changed. It's not just the furin cleavage site. It was freaking part of a patented sequence, and to have such a long segment, so crucial, which completely changed the behavior of the virus, allowed it to infect humans and other species. That's like, I've seen figures of 1 in 3.6 trillion chance. So yeah, you're saying there's a chance. No, yeah. I mean,
no, I get it. Yeah, it's clear now, isn't it? It's so clear now. Now the things, well, what are we going to do about it? I mean, every day that Fauci walks free and is not in trouble, the world's just, it's like Epstein files. Why hasn't anyone been arrested? It's really getting to a point now that they can't hide the corruption. I just want to put this up quickly. I'll get back to this. I'll get back to you in a sec, Rachel. I just want to put this up. This is for the quiz show. Someone asked, is it going to be on Rumble? What we're going to do is, so Paul, last time we had a huge troll attack, and Mark Batts, our other podcaster, it happened to him too. He actually shut the show down. There were so many trolls. So we're going, this is here. It's going to be a webinar. So you just have to register in that. And what it'll allow us to do is know who you are, and so that we can steal everything you own by the end of the show. So that's why we're doing it. It's just so we can basically take full control. A cafe lockdown is becoming tyrannical because that's the flavor of the day. In reality, if you join up for the register, sorry, I'm just taking the piss. If you join up for the register, we'll be in this place. Now, so when it starts tomorrow, we'll still stream to the other pages, but as the trolls attack, we'll shut them down. And if you want to participate in the quiz show, then there's the sign up. We'll have the sign up on the day too, but it's basically just to create a safe space where we can talk. Don't mind if people come on and debate. They absolutely can have completely different thoughts, diversity of thought, but there's vile shit that they come in. We're not having that. So this is our way to fight back against the trolls tomorrow. So it'll take a bit of time to get used to, but that's it. Yeah. And then this came up for you, a question here about the hantavirus. That is it true it can stay in the sperm for up to 6 years? How would they know? I mean, it hasn't been around for 6 years, or are MSN bullshitting us again?
That sounds very unlikely. Look, they're trying to create the sense that it's a virus like COVID that can be spread from human to human. And unlike COVID, yes, this is a zoonotic illness, so it comes from rats and ticks. Look, the ones that with much difficulty can potentially transfer from human to human. It's like it is this strain, but again, like with COVID, when I'm focusing on that 19 nucleotide insert that had the furin cleavage site, this is not different. This so far the sequences they're showing us are unchanged, so its behavior is not going to be changed. Now, does that mean that they haven't gone and done gain of function? Because Moderna's developed a vaccine. Why do you need a vaccine for something which isn't an infectious disease? You
know, that's amazing.
You worry about worry about gain of function, but there's no evidence of that yet. So Hanta looks like monkeypox. It's a virus that we might have be able to kill with memes and facts and
I think there's a lot of positiveness though. Like the schools are going to be safe because there's so many children identify as cats that the rat virus is not going to come anywhere near the schools. So that's really clear. That's really good. When I've clicked the link for the quiz, it tells me I'm in and go back to that link when the show is on. Is that right? Doesn't mean I'm registered. Yes, Lisa, I think so. Well, look, Lisa, we're all learning as we go, so we'll find out tomorrow. I think we did webinars for a while, but no one ever used to log on and be like one person. So we'll find out tomorrow. But it's just we have to develop. I just want to read this out from Anne Rodriguez, who's put a picture back up of the redhead girl there. Yes, well, it had to be engineered because a bat didn't have a nookie with a pangolin who jumped on a pig and that got eaten by a monkey. I always feel sorry. Now, imagine when it was a bat, right? So here you've got this. I've said this before, but that's like a popsicle stick, right? And so these bats were dead bats, and there must have been some guy, and his only job was to stick these sticks up the bats' asses. So when he found out that it came from the Wuhan and a bat and was basically killing everyone in the world, I reckon that man hated his life so much. That was the highlight of his life. I might have been doing this shit job, but I killed the world. I was sitting here manifesting all the time. I hope you all die because it get me out of the shit job. And now we've taken away his glory.
Yeah, look, look, gain of function. This is the thing. This is one of the
joke.
This is one of the worst things with what they call vaccines. The vaccine industry and the bioweapons industry are not separated by the thinnest of barriers. So when they say they're talking about gain of function, and COVID was an example of a gain of function.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that they would like to make other gain of function pathogens that will be linked with
Ebola,
vaccines.
AIDS, even.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the WHO more and more like a bioweapons cartel. This is why they're so hung up on getting the sharing pathogen PABs, pathogen access benefits scheme. You know, this is because they're a bloody bioweapons cartel. That's why they want access so that they can take the ingredient and create a product for it, you know. And of course, my friend Mary Talley Bowden mentioned ivermectin, and then others, we found paper showing that hydroxychloroquine has benefit in hantavirus. And again, this was what Zev Zelenko said all those years ago.
Yeah.
So again, attacking it's the same story, you know. If you've got an effective, and there was the Griffithson, which I thought was very interesting. That's the lectin from red algae, grift. I think is the GRFT. I think is the symbol for it. I mean, amazing stuff. You know, at least in mice, which is the best model that they've got for hantavirus, we have treatments. Or at least we have reason to believe that things like HCQ in the animal models is working well. So, and it's what we would expect. But so there are different ways we've been trying to reduce the fear, and I noticed Claire Craig was talking about this virus, and I've got a short clip here.
I have 5 minutes, and then I have to go to the next interview with Faith. Yeah, so you got it's 38, so we'll finish at 45. So you got 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Okay.
6, 7.
So I'm already bored of hantavirus, but if people are excited by it, we can talk more. We've had, what have we had over the last week? We've had the capital gains tax. That's sort of exciting, you know, and there's been some good comments about that. They just want to tax the shit out of you. Really, don't they? I mean,
that's right.
I'm watching people in the UK. Really, I don't know. Do you think Albo is more or less hated than Keir Starmer?
Well, Keir Starmer's resigned, apparently. He came out today and it said he's officially resigned. But
Also,
it could be, I haven't posted because you don't know. He hasn't made an official announcement. He said he's going to stand down. And because they've had an enormous march in London. I mean, the Kelly showed me the helicopter footage. It just went on forever.
yeah.
And they've got to face the fact they're going to have a civil war over there. If they don't, they have to realize that the masses are rising up.
But is Albo any more popular than Keir Starmer? I mean, they're
incredible. He literally, I would struggle to find someone to like. Oh, Russell Crowe likes him, but you see, Husey came out and attacked him now. So Husey,
I think I got that clip. Yeah. I mean,
that's coming out. That's the end, man. The comedians are into you. They're not scared of you anymore. You're going down.
Well, speaking of the comedians, I've got this clip.
Sweet, I just passed Guy. I get 200 bucks.
I love this
Oh,
guy.
there, buddy. This is Australian monopoly. 50% of your income is taxed.
Are you serious? I'll buy that property.
Okay, that'll be $2.5 million.
What? It's Old Kent Road in Mount Druitt. It's supposed to be the cheapest properties in the game.
It's the Australian housing market, mate. Nothing's cheap. Fucking hell. Community chest. The government's brought in 500,000 new immigrants. You've lost your job and your rent's increased. Do not pass go. What the fuck?
Hey, that's Albo's fault.
Righto, my turn. Oh, Chance, you beauty.
These guys are the
offensive
best,
joke
man.
on social media. Go straight to jail for hate speech. Hey, that's the law. You got to go to jail.
Chance, your NDIS scam worked. Collect $200 from every player.
Here, take it, you fucking criminal.
I don't care about the kids, boys. I need the money.
Cigarette and beer tax increase. Pay everyone $50. Fucking hell.
Government installs machete bins. Pay $200 more in tax. Righto, my turn. Well, before your turn, you got to pay $2,000 to the bank.
What do you mean? I haven't even rolled yet, cunt.
You got to pay rego, insurance, petrol, tolls, parking, green slip, pink slip, taxes, avo on toast. That's just the cost of living.
Oh, fuck this. I'm moving to fucking Bali.
He was the guy that was going into the banks and they were asking him what he wanted the money for. And he was going, I want to get my asshole bleached. And he is, honestly, he's so funny. He is fantastic. And they just pop him out. That was brilliant. That was
and they keep coming, Michael. I mean,
Tom, guess what? I'm buying a house. Awesome, Jackson. Because the government are making it easier for young people to get into houses. That's awesome, Jackson. That is awesome. I'm so happy the government is helping young people. Hooray!
Nah, you got it wrong.
What? Why?
They're getting rid of negative gearing.
Wait, isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, isn't that a good thing? They're getting rid of it for new buyers. Everyone that already owns a home can keep doing it.
Oh. Wait, I'm going to be a new buyer. Wait, Jackson, you're going to be a new buyer. I know, shut up.
You can no longer negatively gear unless you're already doing it. Then you can do it forever.
So they're making it easier for young people to get a house by making it more expensive for young people to own a house. Jackson, this doesn't sound as awesome as it did before.
That's not all.
Yeah, but they're changing the capital gains tax discount, so now it's more fair.
Except the gains people made in the past will still be taxed under the old scheme.
Jackson, this sounds nowhere near as awesome as it did. Tom, shut the fuck up.
So the people these changes will hurt the most are people that are yet to buy a home.
So then why the fuck are they doing it?
To make investing less attractive so the house market grows slower.
Oh, so it'll be more affordable to buy a house.
It will likely never be more affordable to buy a house. It's still only going to get more expensive, just at a slightly slower rate. Maybe.
Maybe? Tom!
Maybe it won't make much difference at all.
Okay, so I have to cop heavily reduced benefits and it will maybe make houses become more expensive at a slightly slower rate. That's bananas. Tom, I will fuck you up.
Yes, Jackson, you understand it properly now.
Oh, this has ruined my day. Is there any upside?
Yeah, they're changing the tax rate, so everybody will get an extra $250.
Over what, a month?
No, a year.
Oh, what the hell am I going to do with $250 extra a year? That's bananas. Tom, I will end your life.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know in what world that would make a difference to anyone.
Great, so everyone before me gets it good and I get it shit.
Yeah, more or less.
Now that's bananas.
Tom, I will bash you.
Tom, guess what? I'm buying a house.
Yeah, so
It's great. It's great that the young are doing it. The young are so awake. I'm sorry, they really are. I'm going to go now for this.
no, it's good. I think we continue to tell the truth, take the piss, and have as much fun exposing just
and
how
talk.
useless.
We just keep talking. We just keep talking. Yeah.
Oh.
Now I've got to go. I've got this so everyone now, we've got a young a trans woman who detransitioned called Faith. She's from Canada, and she's going to go on to talk about her journey and why she wishes she could get back, but she can't. So that's coming on next. I've got to go and get ready in case she's waiting in the studio. Thanks, Paul. And thanks. How do you say her name? Thank you, Norafiah. You've been such a gorgeous guest. Okay. Oh, I also want to say thank you to Hani and Michael for hosting us at their business, Pachamama, and also to Maria. Who really helped us out today with a great donation to keep us going. So thank you to. And anyway, so we will see you in a few minutes. I'll go out with Be Free and be back with something else. See you, Paul. Take care.
Historically, we are the debris, forgotten faces, never more to be. Instead of legends fighting for something that had no guarantees, living ghosts we chose to live and die as their worker bees.